Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and it's time to hit the beach as we begin a month-long salute to sea monsters. First up is from 1959, the Monster of Piedras Blancas. Uh, if you're not a horror fan, you may have seen the most famous still from this, especially if you're a fan of punk music. Gotta love the angry Samoans. Anyway, you may not be able to tell much from that, but that monster is cobbled together from a few other items. You couldn't see the bottom half, but that bottom half was from the mutants from this island Earth, and the claws were from the title characters of the Mole People. And it is obviously based around the creature from the Black Lagoon, the Gill Man, which you can't be too close, so you got that. Film stars Don Sullivan, a somewhat popular young leading man in low budget movies and TV. He, of course, was the star of the giant Gila monster and was also in, so what was it called? Oh, yeah, Teenage Zombies, which had teenagers but no zombie that was a teenager. And the Rebel set, which was a bizarre combination of beatniks who are brought together by a man who has them commit a armed robbery of a armored truck and then proceeds to knock them off so he doesn't have to share any of the ill-gotten gains. After his acting career kind of puttered out, Sullivan, who had a degree in chemistry, went into the cosmetic business where he was a creative chemist working in hair lotion, shampoo, conditioner, spray, all that stuff. We also have, God, her name is Jean Cormer, and she was more of a bit player actress, appearing in background characters in like Untamed Youth and House of Women, which were two early women in prison pictures in the 50s. Untamed Youth is probably best known as one of the starring vehicles for Mamie Van Doren, and featured Eddie Cochran in a role where he does an a cappella version of one of his songs. It's not very good. And she was also in The Devil's Hand, which was a satanic cult movie that starred Robert Alda, Alan Alda's father. And the other big name here is Les Tremayne, who had a pretty good career in the 50s playing authority figures in War of the Worlds, Angry Red Planet. What is that one? The Monolith Monsters. He was also in The Slime Creatures, but everyone in my generation, we mostly remember him as Mentor in the two-season show Shazam, in which the second season they had a completely different Captain Marvel, and they were connected to the Secret of Isis superhero show that premiered that year. Yeah, very familiar voice, and I'm sure once you see him in this film, you'll probably recognize him if you were a fan of Shazam. We open with a lighthouse keeper doing some odd things.
Hey! Hey, you there! I told you to stay away from this light! I meant it! Now go on! Beat it!
Very interesting. An odd monster, which seems to have a feeding dish. And the lighthouse keeper warns people away. Possible connection? Maybe. Might learn more when the lighthouse keeper comes upon a rather grisly scene on the way to town.
Head's ripped clean off. What do you think, Constable?
I don't know what to think. They're white as sheets. They don't look like they got a drop of blood left in them. We'll know better after an autopsy.
I'll bet old Sturgis knows more than he'll tell.
So they're mighty suspicious of the lighthouse keeper. As people usually are with someone who keeps to himself and doesn't want anyone around. It's just not friendly like. Well, we get some disappointing news at the store.
Thought. Now, where's my meat scraps?
You did not show up yesterday, so I gave them to Bert for his hogs.
No meat scraps. And just after he told him he hasn't got his lens cleaner in yet either. Well, he leaves the proprietor of the store, Kolchak. Not Kolchak, Kolchak. Very important to get those distinctions right. Kolchak, believes this is all the work of the legendary Monster of Piedras Blancas. But everybody's just scoffing at him. Well, our lighthouse keeper heads over to the local cafe where his daughter works, where he gets some more disappointing news.
I got the supplies so you won't have to shop.
Thanks.
Be home before dark. I'll have supper ready.
Oh, I've got to work tonight, Dad. Mrs. Madsen isn't feeling too well.
Getting home in the dark? That doesn't sound good. How's she going to get home after she gets off late?
I don't like you coming home after dark.
Oh, I'll be all right. Fred'll bring me.
Don't be late. Understand?
Yes, sir.
I'd listen to him there, Fred. Anyway, when he gets home, he has no meat scraps, so he decides to use something else for whatever he needed the meat scraps for. Fish. Yeah. Fish might work. Maybe. Meanwhile, Fred and Lucille, the lighthouse keeper's daughter, he talks her into taking a long lunch break because he's going out to this other area of the beach to get some samples. He's a marine biologist. And we get this little homage to a popular romantic drama of the time. Aww. Everybody loves to do that from here to eternity kiss. Anyway, well, that's been going on. The sheriff has gone to go see Kolchak to let him know that he needs to knock off all that monster talk. Does he want to cause a panic or something? If he doesn't knock it off, he'll be arrested for disturbing the peace and causing a nuisance and who knows what else he'll think up. That night, Fred drops Lucille off, and we learn a bit about her past and how this is the first time she's been back to the island in almost 10 years. The area, Piedras Blancas, is not an island. It's an actual place. The residents have a yearly anniversary where they watch the film. Anyway, she explains how one day after she got lost in some of the caves around the area, and her father found her, he was so angry he sent her off to boarding school. And this is her first time back. And just for the summer, of course. She'll probably be going back at the winter. Fred's not happy about that. But then, what are you going to do? Anyway, she suggests they go for a moonlight swim, but he demurs. He's got to go help the town doctor with all this crazy stuff going on. And she decides to go on her own. Sorry, gang, but that's about as salacious as the 50s gets. While she's frolicking, someone takes an interest in what she's left behind. Luckily, that's about all the creature does. And she finishes her swim, gets dressed, heads back up to the lighthouse where she feels like something's watching her. She goes in where her father's upset she's late, and even more upset to find out she was swimming at night, and then is worried about this person who may have been there. As for the creature, he's not satisfied with fish and decides to get a little takeout. Maybe Kolchak should have listened to himself. Not leave his door open like that. Although, judging by those claws, he could have probably just knocked through it. But anyway, next morning, the Rinaldi brothers are being buried, so there's a funeral. And one thoughtful mother, after the service, and then when everyone's heading down to the graveyard for the burial, tells her son he doesn't have to go, so he decides to go into the grocery store to get some candy. Oh, and to show that nepotism has always been around, the little boy's played by the director's son.
Mr. Kolchak! Mr. Kolchak! Mr. Kolchak!
The horror! The horror! Well, that's a little tight to do, but go to tell somebody. And where is everybody?
Leaves of the...
Murder! Murder! Mom! Someone's been murdered!
Well, thinking quickly, the sheriff has the doctor, who's also performing the funeral, to keep everyone there with the funeral while he goes and checks things. Then later, as he set up a perimeter, and the doctor is there to do his official duties as the town coroner, he makes an interesting discovery.
What do you make of this?
I don't know. It looks like a fish gill, but it's too big.
Well, maybe something he picked up on the beach.
Well, could be. But I've never seen anything like it before.
Well, let's take it over to my office. We can run some tests on it and look at it under the microscope, huh?
So, leaving Eddie in charge and telling him he should move the body into the freezer of the store to keep it, they head over to the doc's office where he and Fred start trying to identify this gill. What do you guys think it is?
Well, the structure of the specimen we found in Kolchak's store is essentially the same as that of the diplovertebron, only larger.
What is a diplovertebron?
It's a prehistoric amphibious reptile thought to be extinct. Fossilized specimens have been found about 100 miles north of here.
Did not see that one. Prehistoric fish. Like the coelacanth. Okay. But we don't have time to contemplate that. Lucille calls. She's frantic. Her father seems to have fallen off the cliff. So they rush over to see what they can do.
How is he, Doctor?
Has a bad gash in his right arm and his leg is hurt. I can't tell how badly until I examine him more carefully. Help me get him to his feet, huh? Be careful, that arm is hurting real bad. That's it.
This is a doctor? Guy's laying on his back on rocks where he fell? And I think it's to get him to his feet? Back and neck trauma not a thing back then? Hate to see his malpractice insurance. Anyway, as they take him back to the living area of the lighthouse, Lucille has an odd discovery.
Ring? Here, Ring? Ring? Come here, Ring.
His dog, Ring, is nowhere around. Oh, you know what that means. Always the dog. Well, he's going to be bedridden for a while. That was a nasty fall. He's broken his arm, or injured his arm, sprained his ankle. He'll have to stay in bed. Lucille will probably have to take over the lighthouse duties for a while, if his fussiness doesn't prevent her. Anyway, the sheriff and the doctor head back to town. They've got an urgent call. And Fred wants to ask the injured man some questions when he wakes up.
Has anyone ever had a look in those caves?
It's government land. Nobody's allowed.
Do you mind if I have a look?
There's nothing there.
Well, then it won't hurt to have a look.
I don't want you on those rocks. It's dangerous.
All right.
Lucille, having overheard the conversation, is starting to realize her boyfriend is suspecting her father of something. Well, this causes a big argument, and she throws him out, verbally. It sounded like actually pick him up. Well, that'd been funny. What was it the sheriff and the doctor were called in for? Something very tragic. Another homage. This time Frankenstein. The father bringing his little girl through the town and such. That's another victim of the monster. And they go over to the store to get Eddie. He's missing. The sheriff wants to go look in the freezer, and Eddie wasn't the only thing in the freezer. The monster comes out, causing a great deal of havoc. Oh, he's also carrying Eddie's head. Anyway, monster escapes, and they get a posse together. The sheriff picks up Fred before he actually made it into any of the caves. And they start to search, where they actually find Eddie's head. Hearing some shots that they were supposed to fire if they spot the beast, Fred and the sheriff rush to the scene.
Here! Bear's dead. Let's get Mike back right away and patch him up.
We'll all have to go back. We'll need reinforcements.
Well, come on, let's go then. He needs...
Head back. Meanwhile, we get the story of the monster from Lucille's father. Well, she gets it. Seems he had discovered this thing a while back when he got trapped in one of the caves at high tide and was able to swim out and get away from it. But he did notice there is a small hole way up in the cliffs, and monster might not be able to get through it, but someone small, like a little girl, might be able to get down into it. And after Lucille got trapped in high tide and he found her, he shipped her off to protect her. Being lonely, he started feeding the creature. First fish, and that seemed to satisfy it, and he kind of viewed it as a pet almost, you know, being lonely since his wife died, and unspoken, but he's also protecting the town from it by keeping it fed. But as time has passed, fish weren't enough, so he was giving it scraps from the store. But even that seemed to be only a temporary solution, and hence it was going out and finding food on its own. But he insists on going up to the lighthouse. It's his duty. Knowing he can't be argued with, Lucille helps him to go up there. Back in town, Fred and the doctor are arguing with the sheriff over how to take care of the creature.
Either sensed or knew that if he remained there, he'd be fed. Then we have a thinking monster.
I'm afraid so.
I'd like to take him alive.
Why, we wouldn't stand a chance. Besides, I couldn't allow that.
Now, look. It won't be easy to kill this thing even if we want to. You saw what happened to the meat cleaver when it hit him. Now, maybe we can kill him with a gun. I don't know. But I do know that our greatest advantage is our brains.
All right, then let's use them and not take a chance.
Fred has his namesake from Scooby-Doo. Well, this came out before Scooby-Doo, but let's go with it. Comes up with an idea. All they really need is a net. They can throw it on it when it comes out of the cave, and that way no one can get hurt if it gets violent and all that. So they go over to the local shipbuilding guy and get some nets to weave together. Fred goes to call the lighthouse to check on Lucille and her father. The line is dead. They've got to go out there. Well, while the townspeople, aka the extras, stay to work on the net and get it out to them, Fred and the sheriff head out. But while they're trying to get there in time, the monster has already gotten into the building, and it's chasing, well, no, it grabbed Lucille. But her father is a quick thinker.
Lucy!
You gotta watch out for them ticked off monsters. They are not to be trifled with. But Lucille's father, he has a gun. Too bad the doctor's words proved to be prophetic.
Lucy! Go back! You can't do anything! Run, Lucy, run!
I'm over help!
Okay, what are you doing? Okay, it's getting real exciting now. He locks himself in the lighthouse light area. Everybody shows up. they can't get to him. So they're going to try and throw a clothesline up to the top of the lighthouse and string a bosun seat for him. Meanwhile, the monster is not having that much difficulty with the actual door that's keeping him at bay. Lighthouse keeper, he puts up a terrific struggle considering his injured arm and such, but he's no match for the Monster of Piedras Blancas. Well, that was a sad death for a man who was trying to do his best. Fred has climbed up, and he's trying to take on the monster and makes an interesting discovery on how to possibly defeat it.
Keep them in the light!
Lucy, turn on the light!
Yes, as a marine biologist, he probably figured that it was a deep sea creature and therefore used to less light and the dark. You ready for the slam bang finish? Wait a minute. If it's a deep sea animal, knocking it into the water isn't going to... let's just skip to the obligatory and... And there you have it. The Monster of Piedras Blancas. Not a bad film. A little grisly for the time. I mean, the heads are kind of gnarly. And it's got a good work up to the mystery and then the final reveal of the monster, standard for the time. All the characters are fairly intelligent, which can't always say that. Of course, you got Les Tremaine, who's always been good as the voice of reason, and he gives a good performance. Don Sullivan's his usual sort of... He was an okay actor. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. But, the character actors in this, they kill. Of course, that's what they're paid there for. They're good at creating characters. Some really dark humor, such as the little kid running into the funeral yelling murder. And even sympathetic. You kind of feel for the lighthouse keeper and why he kept feeding the monster. And although he doesn't come right out and say it, you do realize that he was trying to protect everyone. But he's so standoffish and curmudgeonly, I guess you could say, that people get the wrong idea about him. Yeah, and of course, you've always got the voice of doom, because that's always an important thing. Mr. Kolchak. But yeah, all in all, a decent film. It's fast-paced, only like 70 minutes, so it was perfect for like a Saturday afternoon creature feature, which I'm sure it played a lot. Didn't really see it in my area, but in my area, you mostly saw Hammer, AIP, and Universal films. Those three, oh, and Godzilla. Those were the big four Toho that you usually saw in my area back in the 70s. Oh, no, I take it back. There was also Gamera. Actually, the big three that you would always see on TV in the 70s: John Wayne. Actually, I should say big four. John Wayne, Dean Martin, because he came from Zanesville, Godzilla, and Elvis. You could always find one of those at some time during the week. Especially John Wayne. He had a lot of films, a lot of low-budget 30s films. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Not great, but one of those serviceable ones that you'd see like on a double bill. Yeah. And the monster suit's pretty good. You can kind of see the influence of the Gill Man on the arms, the way they were scaly. But it's more of an original story than just a rehash of the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is what a lot of films tried to do. And although I like the two, I think, unintentional homages, the beach scene and the man carrying his child to the town, although they could have been intentional. But there you have it. Yeah, solid monster movie. That's about all you can really say about it. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and stay after the credits for my favorite scene.